when you have something really important to say, please unmute yourself. And we will be recording this, and I will be turning the recording off after we're all finished with our meditation and before we spend some time just kind of processing it and talking about it as much as we care to. So welcome, everybody. I'm glad you're all here. Today, we are going to be talking about Hod. It is week 5 of Counting of the Omer. And we've been on a journey, started at Passover, and we are exactly at the halfway point today on this journey toward Mount Sinai when we'll receive the Torah. So I thought it would make a lot of sense to just do a quick review. Each week we've looked at a different character trait or soul trait, and as we've been counting the Omer. And so week 1 was Chesed, which is loving kindness or expansive love. I talked about it as loving connection. Week 2 was Gevura, which is strength or judgment or discipline. And I talked about that kind of as wise boundaries. And week 3 is Tiferet, which is beauty or harmony. And I focused on balance. Week 4 last week was Netzach, and that's really usually looked at as endurance, and I was talking about it as energetic response, and the energy to start something and the energy to stick with it when it gets long and tedious and tough. And this is week 5, Hod. And Hod is usually translated as humility. And humility really is healthy self-esteem. You know, if we are overly humble, we have just a poor self-image. We don't see our own abilities. We don't realize our own capabilities, and we don't step up to let our light shine, if you will. And if we are full of ourselves and have, you know, humility on that other extreme, then we are really arrogant, and we don't leave room and space for other people. So Alan Moranis in Everyday Holiness talks about humility as taking up one's rightful space. And I love that imagery because we can use that along several different continua, like physically, verbally, emotionally even. So an example of somebody taking up too much space, from my opinion, physically would be the guy in the, it's always a guy, and it's not really always a guy, but the person in the metro who plops down, splays their legs, has the bags on the next seat, and is taking up 2 seats. That's taking up too much space. It's an example. Verbally, we all have experiences of people who, in a meeting, take up a lot of airtime, or the people who really have wise and wonderful, insightful things to say and don't speak up. And emotionally even, we can think of relationships that we've had, people that we've been with, who, that balance between being needy and being helpful and supportive is really off. So just something to really think about in terms of how much space we take up, and are we stepping up when we should? Are we stepping back when we should? Are we leaving room for the other? I think that another way to look at humility is as non-attachment to the outcome. So last week when we were talking about Netzach, we're talking about having that ability to stick with something and really giving it our all, whatever the it is, whatever the object is. But then you have to also fold in the humility so that once you've given a project everything you've got to give, you can let go and allow the outcome to be what it is, whatever it ends up being. So there's this non-grasping attitude about the actual outcome. And the reason that I think that that's really related to humility is because we can acknowledge what we can do and what we can't do. And part of that is acknowledging that the qualities and strengths that we have are gifts from God, however we understand God. So, so there are a lot of aspects to humility. So as we sit today, and I'm going to be quiet soon, I invite you to be curious, without judgment, about your own habitual patterns. Do you speak up or hold back in a meeting at work, for example? What about when you're with family or friends? Because so much of this becomes situational and is so influenced by the particular situation. Do you step up or hold back when you're asked to do something? Under what circumstances are you more humble or less humble? How often do you think you really take up your rightful space? And remember, I can't emphasize this enough. This is gentle curiosity. We're noticing and we're exploring with kindness for ourselves. All of the attributes that we've been discussing are at play here. That's part of what's happening. Everything's getting synthesized. These attributes are not in silos. They're all interconnected. So we need to be kind of displaying a lot of chesed for ourselves as we look at ourselves with gentle curiosity. So I invite you to sit in a posture that is strong, where you're tall and your head is reaching up to the heavens. So you're strong and tall, but not arrogant. And you're allowing your muscles to relax, and you're really feeling supported by the chair or the cushion that you're sitting on. But you're not meek. You're taking up your rightful space in this physical space now. And in about 15 minutes or so, I will ring my bell. And when I do so, I invite you to come back to our Zoom room gently and slowly and at your own pace. And we'll now sit in silence. So I am unmuting everybody. And just want to end our meditation with this quote from Rabbi Simon Jacobson in his booklet, The Counting of the Omer. He was talking about Hod in relationship to Netzach, last week's focus. Remembering Netzach is endurance and Hod is humility. Human endurance goes only as far as your tolerance level. Acknowledging that your strengths come from a higher place gives you the power to endure far beyond your own perceived capacity. It gives you part of God's enduring strength. So I thought that that was particularly relevant to our being stuck at home in this pandemic that we're living through. So anyone have comments, questions, insights that they'd like to share?
I came across a Hasidic story, don't know if it's true or not, Midrash, that every man everyone should have two pockets, clothing with two pockets, and in one is a piece of paper that says, "This whole world God created for me," and in the other pocket is a piece of paper that says, "I am nothing but dust." And it's that balance between the two that you always have that awareness of both extremes to try to reach the balance in the middle.
Yes, that's a lovely story. And I apologize. Apparently people are having difficulty hearing me. I just brought the computer a little closer.
Fran, you should turn off the recording too, I think, right?
Oh, thank you. Thank you.